Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Tech Talk Dad, the channel where we put technology through its paces. And if you followed the very much story of this MacBook Pro 2011, this nearly 14-year-old machine, you will know that we have definitely put this through its paces. We have done, in terms of a summarized view of this, of things that we need to do to make sure that we 100% can save these machines, but the systems that we have also trialed to make sure we are in this point now, to where this MacBook is now extremely usable in the modern age, and most importantly, supported for security. Now, I take you back right to the start when we got this MacBook. And if you followed the videos, you will probably know. And please do stay till the end if you have followed the story, because I've done some more testing on where we're at from the last video. But to get where you are, so this 2011 MacBook Pro is a mid-range, it's an i5. With it, when they come with minimal RAM. You might get 4 gigabytes of RAM, and you'll get a slow mechanical spinning physical hard drive. So the first thing that you will need to do is you will need to max these out as much as you can. So there's 2 RAM lanes. Each one can take up to 8 gigabytes of RAM, so 16 gigabytes in total. So we've made sure we've got the 3300 megahertz RAM sticks that it can take, 2 of those 8 gigabyte sticks, so 16 gigabytes is what this is now up to. And this is very much needed for this day and age in this modern world, because this would not be able to cope with the current internet stresses, systems, etc. that the world now throws out, especially on 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the other thing we needed to do to make this faster in terms of load times, in general anything, is make sure we upgrade that hard drive. So this now has a 512 gigabyte SSD. So if you go back towards the start of the videos, when we first got that, luckily enough, I found one which was already upgraded. So I didn't actually have to do that. But we did a video of how to upgrade your MacBook. So if you're interested in how to do that, go back and watch those videos right from the start of this playlist. Now, the other things that we've done too. When we first got this MacBook, it was on Lion, which was completely unusable. You couldn't use Safari, you couldn't download any other internet browsers because you couldn't access them. And the more difficult part is we also couldn't get onto the App Store. Now, as you may know, if you are MacBook users and have been MacBook users for some time, the App Store is how you get on to update to the newer version of the software, of OS. So without access to the App Store and without access to the internet, where we could download them from maybe the internet pages, we were pretty stuck on how we were going to do it. After many trying different browsers, etc., Safari and the website browsers had just surpassed that software. So I had to get a bootable drive and boot it and manually do it up to High Sierra. So it was then usable, which was the maximum Mac OS that this MacBook supports. It couldn't go any higher without a little bit of help. So we managed to get it up to there, and it was usable. The internet worked. Certain web pages still didn't, and you still, even with High Sierra, still struggle to run, for example, Firefox, etc., etc. Some of the other things. Pale Moon used to work, and worked quite well. So if you have High Sierra on one of these MacBooks and you're looking to go no further and that's what you want to do, then Pale Moon is definitely a browser that you should be looking at. It's very lightweight and it is still very, very quick. So High Sierra, we found, was still very usable. However, now that it's unsupported and it's now far enough along that we're now not getting any security updates. So begs the question of, is it really safe? If someone really wanted to gain your details through internet, if you're out and about, if you're at home, maybe not so much of an issue, but still there are websites out there that could still get your details. So if you're looking to go one step further, We then went into the point of OpenCore Legacy Patcher, and in essence, upgrading the OS through that to higher than what is unsupported. And we did the steps through that and went all the way to the top to Sequoia. Now, it wasn't the best experience. It was difficult to do in the fact that it took a very, very long time. It took about 3 hours to get that updated to Sequoia in total. Now, I would suggest that if you've got one of these MacBooks, Monterey is probably the way to go. It's the one where everything still works. On Sequoia, go back and watch that video if you want more details, but not all of the apps worked. Metal X was not supported, obviously, on this MacBook. It doesn't have that, and a lot of the apps run on Metal X. Now, we got to the next stage. What can we do where we run a system which is modern and works? And that was Linux. So the last video, we put Ubuntu onto this MacBook. And I have to say, I'm impressed. So you have to remember that Ubuntu is a modern software and is supported and will continue to be supported. They base themselves on less bloatware, so it's less demanding for your MacBook. But with the 16 gigabytes of RAM, it still runs very, very quickly. So I haven't gone and downloaded many applications, but for example, Firefox, YouTube, all runs quickly. Okay, it's not going to be the fastest in the world, but it's usable, and there is a little bit of latency, but not bad at all. And it plays videos perfectly well on there, and you have to remember, as I said, it is supported. Now, one of the difficult things with one of these older laptops and what we found with Ubuntu is that the drivers download. If you plug an Ethernet cable straight from the get-go when you're installing it, it will download most of the drivers for you and will work with the Wi-Fi. A couple of issues that I found with Wi-Fi is if you then go search for new drivers, it does knock out your Wi-Fi and you have to go and download the drivers again through the actual program command center, which obviously Linux is very famous for in general. The App Store, I have found that the majority of the apps download, upgrade with no issues. However, the one thing I have found is there is an app on Linux dedicated for video editing, which is called Kden Live. For some reason, it just wouldn't download. My only guess of why this would not download is because of the actual hardware itself. The other thing as well is this is not an actual laptop issue, but DaVinci Resolve also wouldn't download. It runs errors in the actual program itself when you're trying to install it. And again, this is actually a DaVinci Resolve issue because the earlier Ubuntu updates actually used to run it and work and download it. But since the update on the current Ubuntu, DaVinci Resolve keeps getting into errors, so won't resolve. So video editing at the moment is not great on these older machines and also in general on Linux currently. If you had a newer machine with Kden Live, it would probably work absolutely fine. However, at the moment, we cannot download it. And DaVinci Resolve would work if they would just sort out their current software issues. So that will probably be updated and fixed and the bugs fixed in a later software. So that may change in the very, very near future. But if you're looking for a machine to use in terms of typing, Linux has its own versions of the Office suite for free, which you can use, which I have all completely downloaded on here as well. So you have all of it's called LibreOffice, and it has all of the versions in here as well, which you can also use, and they all work perfectly fine. So if you're looking to type documents, surf the internet, use YouTube, it does it at speed and it works extremely well. So my question is instead of putting this to the landfill, have we saved this nearly 14-year-old MacBook by the tinkering we've done? And yes, we could have stuck by with Sequoia and the Mac OS. However, it just wasn't safe in the lower Mac OS software. The security updates just were not happening anymore from Apple. And therefore, to be safe, we had to go into the higher ones, Monterey, Sequoia, Sonoma. But the problem is none of them were just optimized for this machine. Battery life was terrible, and it was quick, it just wouldn't work properly. None of the apps would work properly. I do think that in these older machines, Linux, or a lighter version of Linux as well, because you've got Ubuntu, which is a little bit more hardy, even though it says that you probably only need 4 gigabytes of RAM to run it, I'd probably be safe and still upgrade your MacBook if you can. So guys, let me know, do you have an older MacBook like this? Have you considered putting Linux on it yourself? And are you just wanting to save that old MacBook rather than spending the money on a new one? If you are a video editor and you want to do some video editing, you're probably going to need a slightly newer machine. However, when I say newer machine, something slightly newer than this, I do know that the 2012 to 13 MacBooks do start having the hardware to be able to cope with Metal X. Therefore, you could probably still save some money by still buying an older MacBook with Linux, and you've got yourself a good machine for a decent budget. So guys, let me know your thoughts. Please hit that like button, and please do consider subscribing to the channel if you like your technology, you like putting them to the test, and there are lots more videos to come. And I'll catch you all in the next one.